The biggest machines in motorsports are set for a 10-truck Triple Crown in Evansville, Indiana. With legends, superstars, and second-generation drivers competing for the big bucks, aggression may be the key to victory. Welcome to Summer Smash 2020, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts here in Evansville, Indiana. A stacked lineup of 10 big bad monsters getting ready to go into best trick racing and freestyle competitions. There you see one of the legends, Jim Creighton and the Bounty Hunter, sharing some information with the new generation of monster truck competitors. A pair of guys out of the Vodders Motorsports clan. And speaking of Vodders Motorsports, one of the big storylines rolling into this weekend, Brad Allen jumping behind the wheel of Overkill Evolution. Not a seat foreign to him. He's been there before, but Mikey did not want to come back down over the border. He now calls Carlton Place, Ontario home. With the current restrictions, wanted to make sure he could be home with his family during these difficult times. But Vodders Motorsports was able to start things off on a high note. Mike Vodders getting our highlights started here in the best trick competition. Made it tough on everybody behind him. Using fresh crush cars to perfection. Right there stood the truck straight up and down and carrying a lot of ground speed. It's always good to do so in these best trick competitions. You got to treat them kind of like a mini freestyle. Keep the crowd on their feet, keep the action moving. And if you thought the first move was wild, Mike more than backed it up with the second. Past vertical and down the entrance ramp on the right rear tire. Mike Vodders set the bar high to open up our best trick competition. Straight up and down right there, and you can see kicked a little bit to the right on him there. Had the momentum to bring it back down fairly easily, and then this second move, watch this thing twist up in the air. Past vertical, that Thunder Nationals driving style is in the blood. Let it simmer, as Mike says, and brought it right back down. But set the bar very high, as I said. Doug Nolke and Tailgater came out second out of Union, Missouri. Very impressive. A pair of classic sky wheelies out of that machine from the Show Me State. But as good as Doug was, and as good as Doug always is, was not quite enough to get over the mark that Mike Vodders set, coming out first in the competition. Then Jimmy Creighton and the Bounty Hunter, that modified PEI chassis out of Tonganoxie, Kansas, going for a slap wheelie right here, but the truck goes off to the right-hand side of the track. Getting over near the wall, he had to back out of it. Creighton never one to give up. You'll see he'll go for the move again. He gets on the power with the rear wheels planted. A nice sky wheelie right there. But I do believe very frustrated. He wanted some big, long, tall slap wheelies, and it just did not happen. Frustrated driving, goes for the big air at the end. A little bit of an extra move there for the crowd. That was right before the better half of 2 Extreme Racing rolled out, and she had some problems of her own. Now you'll see she starts off very, very strong with the classic Scarlet Bandit Sky Wheelie. Always a very smooth driver, Dawn, but she'll go for a popper here in a moment, and she found out very quickly that there wasn't much traction to be found on this loose dirt. Hope to stand that one up into a power wheelie from the popper. It wasn't going to happen. Another driver found that out as well. Matt Cody, he went for a stoppie early in his run. Didn't happen, and then in frustrated fashion put the truck into low orbit. But again, not enough to get over his boss, Mike Vodders. And another Vodders Motorsports machine. This one driven by one of the Team Scream drivers, Brad Allen. We talked about it earlier, out of Hubbard Lake, Michigan, driving Overkill Evolution. Hard slap wheelie right there as he stands the truck straight up and down, smacking the front end on the dirt here in Evansville, Indiana, at the Vanderburg 4-H Fairgrounds, kicking up the dust. Now that was a solid move. He unfortunately, though, was not able to back it up. He tried to do it again, but the truck flat landed. A little bit of frustration there for the Team Scream driver in Overkill Evolution. Now we talk about Team Scream. Jim Kohler out of Columbus, Michigan. That's Brad's normal boss. In the Avenger, he knows what he has to do. Getting some big hang time right there, but I think he was going for a slap wheelie. The truck kited up in the air, and it just was not going to happen. Came back around now. He was able to get a slap wheelie here, but as you'll see, little claustrophobic up on the short end of the track coming back toward the starting line. Unfortunately, Kohler would not get what he wanted out of that best trick run. That was father. This is son, Chris Kohler in Brutus. Always known for getting some hang time, and he does so here. Carrying the front end nicely. Those big Michelins pounding the soil. Here in Evansville, kicking up the dust, whipping the crowd into a frenzy. Really carrying some good momentum on this run, and again, you got to treat it like a mini freestyle. That's what Chris did. He did pretty well in this competition, but it was not enough, again, to clear that very high bar set the first run out by the safety clean Black Stallion and Mike Vodders. Kohler, though, not disappointed. The truck looks real good as we headed toward racing. Now, Alan Pizzo, Lone Eagle out of Brentwood, Tennessee. He will not make racing. Just broke the rear end right there. You can see no rear steering. One move in will end his night. Hopefully he can get this thing back for freestyle. It was good to see Alan back in action after all this time off. He would lift the truck back to the pits. Our final competitor, Preston Perez, out of Hagerstown, Maryland, by way of Spokane, Washington. Trying to launch the big school bus, and if there's anybody that Mike Vodders Sr. does not want to beat him, it's this kid right here, Preston Perez. But he would love to know that he was the guy that knocked the boss down. Last competitor, could he take out the first competitor? Good pair of sky wheelies right there, but it would not be enough, and a frustrated Preston Perez throws it into a donut at the far end of the track. No locker in the front end. I know he'd like to have thrown it into a cyclone, but it wasn't going to happen. So, your best trick champion would be the first guy out on this night in Evansville, Indiana. Mike Vodders Sr. and the safety clean Black Stallion getting the job done. We are just getting started. A lot more to come from here in Evansville. Racing highlights coming up next.
This Back Channel Productions program is brought to you in part by Monsters Monthly. For up-to-date show, ticket info, and a wide selection of photo and video galleries, visit monstersmonthly.com. And by RPM Army, featuring action-packed content from around the web. Visit rpmarmy.com. Your source for motorsports on the go. This Back Channel Productions program is brought to you in part by Crush This. For an inside look at the world of monster trucks, check out Crush This, available on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.
The superstars of monster truck competition getting set for side-by-side monster truck racing round one highlights. Coming at you, a pair of Vodders Motorsports Fords lining up. The first pair here in our highlights of monster truck side-by-side competition. Brad Allen staging Overkill Evolution up against the patriarch of the Vodders Motorsports clan. That is Mike Vodders Sr. in the safety clean Black Stallion in the far lane out of Hagerstown, Maryland. Very aggressive pass out of the near lane. It was a close race, but it would go to Brad Allen in Overkill Evolution in spite of all that dancing around he did in No Man's Land. A little bit different driving style from Mikey's, and they are trying to work some bugs out of a new suspension setup in this machine. They don't quite have it where they want it. I'd say it's about 80 to 90% of where it should be, and Brad had to plant the horsepower in No Man's Land, and that is where he got Mike right before the final jump. Now, father and son match up in this next round. Jim Kohler in Avenger taking on Chris Kohler in Brutus. And Jim just schooled Chris on the starting line. Caught him sleeping at the light. Watch it again. Jim with the jump off the start. A little bit of bounce in there in No Man's Land, but he planted the horsepower. Chris trying to correct. In no way was going to run down his father in the Big Bad Avenger out of Columbus, Michigan. Now that was father and son. Here's husband and wife in the near lane. Jim Cretin and the Bounty Hunter taking on his wife, Dawn Cretin, and Scarlet Bandit, the two extreme racing machines out of Kansas. And once again, the hole shot made the difference. Jim Cretin out of the hole very, very quickly. Watch the difference in reaction time. Left Dawn sitting there at the starting line, got the truck down in No Man's Land. It wasn't a perfect run, a little bit out of shape as he came toward the car, but he corrected and drove across the finish line in flying fashion. Got himself into the next round, and that's where we go. Pair of Team Scream drivers, one in a Vaders Motorsports machine, taking on his normal boss. Brad Allen goes up against Jim Kohler in the Avenger. And if that race was any indication as to what we will see when we get to the Final Four, it is going to be a wild, wild bracket. We'll watch it again. A pretty even start for both trucks, but an advantage to Brad Allen coming over the roller. However, he was not able to get the truck to settle down in No Man's Land. Again, trying to work out suspension bugs in a new setup and with the driver that's not usually in the truck. Jim Kohler, after a single bounce, settled in, put the horsepower to the ground, drove on in to the quarterfinal round of Monster Truck side-by-side competition. We head on to our second matchup. It would be between a first-round winner and a man who had a bye run in round number one. Jim Cretin, who knocked off his wife in round one, taking on Doug Nolke in the Tailgater, who was supposed to take on Alan Pizzo. Of course, Pizzo broke in the Best Trick competition. He is currently in the back trying to get that machine ready for freestyle. We'll see if he makes it, but Nolke, after the bye run, has to take on one of the toughest in the industry, Jim Cretin in the Bounty Hunter. Would he be able to knock down the Expedition? Got a little out of shape in the left-hand lane, and the wind goes to the right-hand side of the track. Jim Cretin keeping it smooth over there on the grandstand side and moving on to the Final Four. A good start for Doug Nolke. You can't take anything away from him. He does have a shot to come back as the fast loser in a six-truck quarterfinal round. And right now, he is sitting on that bump spot, so we'll see if he's able to do that when we move on to our Final Four. Another look at it will show you, though, the truck started to move around on him. After he comes over the roller, it pitches off to the right-hand side. He has to drive back toward the brush cars and the final jump. He did so, got it squared up, a pretty good pass, but the truck going sideways. Cretin was able to take full advantage of it. Now another guy beat his teammate. Matt Cody knocked off Preston Perez in the higher education pool bus. He has to take on the fast loser out of round number one, that being Dawn Cretin and the Scarlet Bandit. So it'll be a Maryland Ford against a Kansas Ford. Very, very close race, and it took just a moment to figure out who won this one. I don't know that everybody is in agreement, but the way it'll go down on paper is that Dawn Cretin in the Scarlet Bandit will be moving on to our Final Four here in Evansville, Indiana. Who will she match up with? We will tell you when we come back. The semifinal round is coming up next, and it is going to be awesome here in Evansville, Indiana. Stay with us. Back Channel Productions coming at you from Summer Smash 2020. Our field of 10 has been whittled down to the Final Four as we head toward semifinal round. Monster truck racing action at the Vanderburgh County 4-H Fairgrounds here in Evansville, Indiana. A pair of guys with a long history in this industry going at it. Our first pairing, Jim Cretin in the Bounty Hunter takes on Jim Kohler in the Avenger. That'll be our first pairing of the semifinals. And then the other half of the 2 Extreme Racing Camp, Don Cretin, your fast loser out of round number 1, takes on your fast loser out of round number 2, Doug Nolke in the Tailgater. So a pair of fast losers going at it here in the second pairing of the semifinal round. Right now, though, we have to settle this matchup between Jim and Jim. It'll be a Michigan Chevrolet. You see right there in the near lane taking on a Kansas Ford. The Bel Air against the Expedition. Jim Kohler against Jim Cretin here in the first pairing of the semifinal round. They are both staged up, waiting for the light. It's Avenger and Bounty Hunter. Absolutely perfect pass out of the left-hand lane. Jim Kohler taking the victory in Avenger. Watch it again. Even off the starting line, but an advantage to Jim Cretin coming over the roller. And I don't know how Jim Kohler settled in the horsepower, but he did. Look at the finish line launch. A little spark out of the front end. Hopefully that's nothing serious. I believe it's just the brake rotor dragging a bit as he landed. But you see how hard he went over the finish line. He flat out outpowered Jim Cretin in the mid-range. What a semifinal round race, and it leads us here. Jim Kohler in Avenger will take on the winner of this next matchup, Doug Nolke out of Union, Missouri in the Tailgater. Kind of the swan song season for this truck. He has sold it, waiting for the new owner to take delivery, getting the last few shows in, but he has a tough opponent here in the semifinal round. Remember, Doug had a bye run in round number 1, got here by virtue of being the fast loser out of the quarterfinals, but he's back in this left-hand lane that gave him all kinds of problems. In his last run, he got out of shape, had to straighten up, and handed the win to the driver in the right-hand lane, and that is where Don Cretin is sitting right now with all that 2 Extreme Racing horsepower. A whole lot of horses on the starting line right here. Can Doug Nolke knock her out, or will Don Cretin move on to the final round and be the lone hope for the Ford team out of Tonganoxie, Kansas?
Here we go.
I don't know how you get any closer than the last 2 runs that Don Cretin has been a part of. But I do believe as they came down to the finish line, Doug Nolke edged her out, getting its first straight-up victory here tonight just by literally a nose of the gator. Doug Nolke taking the Tailgater onto the championship race, and you can see she was right with him off the starting line. They were dead even. But this time, no problems for Doug. He settled in, put the horsepower to the ground, kept it pretty low over the final jump, and he drove on to victory into the final round against Jim Kohler in the Avenger, and that's where we're going right now as you see our bracket heading into this championship race. Avenger just knocked off Bounty Hunter. He will take on Tailgater, who just knocked off Scarlet Bandit. So our finalists dispatched the 2 Extreme Racing team one at a time to get here side-by-side straight line racing here in Evansville, Indiana. It has been an awesome night of competition so far. Now, if those last two runs were any indication as to what this championship race is going to be like, you're not going to be able to determine a winner on paper. I'd say the advantage would go to Jim Kohler, Mr. Excitement and Avenger, but his last two runs that he won were out of this left-hand lane. You have to wonder why he made the switch. Could he have been watching Nolte, who has struggled in this left-hand side? He did just get a win, but he has not been as fast as Jim Kohler has been on this left-hand side. So, will the change in lanes pay off for Mr. Excitement, or will Nolte beat him to the finish line? It's the championship race here in Evansville. Avenger and Tailgater on the line.
Here we go.
Tremendous charge for Doug Nolte in the Tailgater. He takes the victory in the championship race after a round one bye run, a round two loss, got back into the semifinal round by virtue of being the fast loser. There he took a very narrow victory over Don Cretan, but he comes back against a very, very dominant Jim Kohler in Avenger. Nolte found the winning formula in Tailgater and flew to victory here at Summer Smash 2020 in Evansville, Indiana. Your racing champion here in Evansville, Doug Nolte in the Tailgater. He celebrated before he parked the truck. We're not done yet, though, giving us a little taste of what's to come as Nolte talks to the man he just beat, Jim Kohler, in the Avenger. These guys getting their plan ready for freestyle. That is coming at you next. Do not go away. It's going to be wild. Back into Evansville, Indiana, the drivers getting set for Monster Truck Freestyle competition here at Summer Smash 2020. A look at some of the machines getting ready to go here in freestyle, and here's some highlights from machines that have already run. Alan Pizzo, the Lone Eagle out of Brentwood, Tennessee, got those rear steering problems fixed, but after a couple of hits, went down to two-wheel drive and then down to one-wheel drive. Disappointed Pizzo would take the truck back to the pits. He'll get it set for tomorrow night's action. That'll be coming up on our next edition from here in Evansville, Indiana. Don Cretan, part of the 2 Extreme Racing Camp out of Tonganoxie, Kansas, in the Scarlet Bandit. Raised the bar, got some nice hang time on this run, kept the momentum up, and hit just about everything on the track, including this massive ski slope. As good as this run was, I don't know that it is going to end up being a winner. You may have to hit that backflip ramp to get the big score. Doug Nolte and Tailgater, another one, kept up nice momentum, had the donuts, had the big hang time, but this is another run as good as it was. I don't know if it's going to live up to what we will be seeing later on tonight, but Doug, not wanting to hurt the truck too bad. He's got another show yet to go. Again, no one has hit that backflip ramp yet, and I do think that could be the game changer here tonight in Evansville, Indiana. Now the safety clean Black Stallion, your best trick champion out of Hagerstown, Maryland. Minus the bed sides. You know he lost those earlier. Stood the truck straight up and down, so you know he's not afraid to get after it as he motors around here on the track. Vanderburgh County 4-H Fairgrounds. So we will see what he has in store. Keep the runs that we just showed you the highlights from in mind. He has to go after those. He needs to raise the bar. Not wanting to overdrive the truck here either. Keep in mind, not only do they have another show to do tomorrow, he has 4 trucks, including this one, in this competition. Here he goes. Up the ski slope, a nice jump right there, and another truck from that camp that has had a lot of suspension work done to it during the off-season before they got to first quarter, and now really getting a chance to test these shocks some more. He had a different driver in this machine, one of the Basil brothers, during first quarter, and Mike definitely putting the machine to work. Now back behind the wheel of the Black Stallion. The truck looks good, picking up the pace Working his way around the short side of the track. Cross the racing lanes, and I do believe that'll be it for the Black Stallion. A solid run, but again, I don't think without that backflip you're going to be able to take the Freestyle Championship here. Now, Chris Kohler out of Columbus, Michigan, and the Big Bad Brutus. Chris Kohler known for getting some big hang time. He's certainly done that before on our coverage here. Back Channel Productions now working the track here in Evansville. May want to pick up the pace just a little bit, but he's doing a nice job so far. Working the short side of the track right now, getting it lined up, trying to make sure he fills the clock. I know he's got something up his sleeve before the end of this run. He was eyeballing that backflip ramp. We'll see if he hits it. As he heads back over toward this small jump in the center. Well, no, he heads up the center of the track. It looks like he's headed right for the backflip ramp. Chris Kohler. Under rotate a little bit and a hard hit right there.
Track crew immediately rushing to him.
Track crew headed over right now to check on Chris Kohler.
Wow.
He is okay. He's moving around inside the truck. He under-rotated it, got into the throttle, and actually rotated all the way onto the tailgate before the rear tires even hit. Just grazed the tread on the right rear as it rotated back around, and there was no way he was pulling out of that. You watch it again. He did not actually land on the cage. He lands on the left front, so that should take away some of that impact as he headed off the track. He was all right. We get ready to bring our next vehicle to center stage. Matt Cody rolling out of the pit area back there in the Iron Warrior out of Williamsport, Maryland, part of the Vonners Motorsports team. And Matt, with this new Eddie Micah chassis debuted last year, ready to throw it down here in front of the crowd in Evansville. Big hang time for the Iron Warrior. A little slap wheelie out of him. Didn't carry it out. He knew there was another jump right there. Did not want to get into it. Put the truck on its top early. Carrying a lot of ground speed around the Vanderburg 4-H Fairgrounds here in Evansville. And this is a driver who has made his bones in a few different machines, but the truck he was most known for piloting was Mike Vatter's Black Stallion 2000 chassis under the Iron Warrior banner, and definitely learned how to drive them in a chassis that was debuted in 1996 with updates, kept running long past its prime, but Matt made it work for him, and now in a truck that just suits his driving style so well. One of a few guys who's gone to this setup for 2019 and 2020. Working for him here. Looks like he's headed for the backflip ramp. Let's see if Matt Cody can land it. Little bit under-rotated, he just broke the front tie rod. Actually, just broke both front and rear tie rods. I see it hanging off back there. As he comes around, you might be able to see it. You can kind of see it hanging down, but Matt Cody, that's going to be it for him. They're not going to, he's setting up to go up that ski slope. They're not going to let him do that. He had an awesome, awesome run. I think that's going to take over the lead, but look at this. The hang time into the slap wheelie. Again, not quite able to carry it as far as I think he wanted to, but did not disappoint. Had this massive launch off of that little ramp off to the right side of the left racing lane. Suspension soaking it up. Those CNC overtime shocks doing their job. And then the backflip, and you'll see under rotates it also. Breaks the front tie rod. Broke the rear one right there, and I think the tie rod breaking actually kept the truck from maybe kicking back the way Chris Kohler and Brutus did. Now, another member of the Vaders Motorsports camp out of Spokane, Washington, Preston Perez in the Big Bad Higher Education Cool Bus. Still runs the King shocks with the air springs. It's one shock per corner, one air spring per corner. A little bit older design, but it still gets the job done. Always a crowd favorite, always a favorite of the kids. And Preston breathing new life into this machine, getting some big hang time right there in the Cool Bus. Nice hit right there, Preston Perez. Keeping up the pace and the momentum nicely. And we've had the pleasure of watching this guy kind of grow over his career. We witnessed his very first run behind the wheel of this machine in Brookville, Pennsylvania back in 2017. And now, working bigger and bigger obstacles. He's been quite the competitor on the Triple Threat Series. Now back in the truck all the way up to the K-rails. He's going to hit the ski slope. Higher Education living up to the name, and I think that's the biggest air we've seen so far tonight. He got a full run at it as he rips off a donut right here on the top end of the track. Preston Perez cutting loose in the Cool Bus. What a run. Say he and Matt Cody are about even in terms of their momentum and getting the hang time off of some of these smaller obstacles. I'd say Preston actually one up to everybody with that launch over the ski slope. Matt, though, had the backflip, so you have to wonder. Still, do you need the backflip to get a freestyle victory in this field? This is a stacked lineup, and another member of the Vaders Motorsports camp, or another truck out of the Vaders Motorsports camp, being driven by a guy out of the Team Scream stable, Brad Allen out of Hubbard Blake, Michigan, and Overkill Evolution. Vehicle designed by Marty Garza, Mike Vaders Sr., One Up Off-Road. Totally different bottom end setup on this truck than any other. But again, talked about it earlier in the program, working out some new suspension parts here. They went from coilover setup with an overtime shock now to just overtime shocks, 2 overtime shocks per each corner. And the truck handles a little bit differently. Plus, you have Brad Allen's different driving style. Going move to move to move. You see how he's whipping it around short corners and just getting it to the next obstacle. That is going to help him in the long run because he'll get more hits in that way, but he's got to make them count. Using up all the track space here with Overkill Evolution as he heads up the center, going for the backflip. Perfect backflip for Brad Allen and Overkill Evolution. That might take the lead. Gotten quite a few hits in. I don't know if the hang time has been there, but that was perfect. There's some hang time. Hard landing on the left rear. May have tweaked the sway bar there just a little bit. The truck now leaning to the left-hand side. There's that big hang time. Wanted to make sure he got that backflip in, but he's using it all the time as he throws some dirt over on our camera operator. Wrapping up the run in fine fashion, Brad Allen and Overkill Evolution getting the job done. A few of the highlights from this run. Carrying the front end right there with some hang time. A nice job. Again, landing hard on that left rear. The truck is kicking a little bit to the left-hand side. And then this backflip, and again, this thing was picture perfect. And something about this run, he's the first person to do a backflip, drive away, and continue the freestyle. So that's going to play right into his hands. Followed it up with this. Big air leap again, carrying the front end. Nice run for Brad Allen. Normally drives Brutus. Brad taking the reins of Overkill Evolution, and we were talking about how Brad's out of the Team Scream stable. Here's another guy showing no respect to that camera operator over there. Big hang time for Jim Kohler in the Avenger out of Columbus, Michigan, Mr. Excitement. Getting set to live up to the name he knows. He's got a shot here, hard landing on the right-hand side. Now working the short end of the track as he hits over the bottom end of the ski slope. Our cameraman, Owen Sargent, is getting roosted over there in that corner. Move to move. This has been one of the best freestyles we've seen as he heads up the ski slope. Didn't even line it up. A nice hit right there, and I think that he just topped Preston Perez with hang time. What a he drifts around the track. Wild sideways landing right there. No wasted effort in this run whatsoever. Mr. Excitement, Jim Kohler in the Avenger. Out of Columbus, Michigan, the Corey Rummel built chassis. Laying it down, more awesome hang time. Those Ukrainians really digging into this loose soil. I think he actually found some clay under there, what's left of the pulling track. So we take another look at this run. Look at the hang time to open things up. Massive air out of the Avenger. Again, no wasted effort in the run. And I do believe, even without a backflip, he's going to take over the lead. Again, up the ski slope without lining it up. Riding it on that ragged edge. Oh, that controlled chaos. And then this wild sideways launch off the back of the racing lane. Didn't stop and line up every single move. He just hit whatever was in front of him. That has been his calling card for many, many years. He did not disappoint the fans here at Summer Smash 2020. I thought he might go for a backflip. He didn't. And from what we're hearing, he's now taken over the lead, and he needed to because this guy's coming up right behind him. Jim Breeden, the bounty hunter out of Tonganoxie, Kansas, our last freestyle competitor. Can he knock down Mr. Excitement? You know, he's got the ability to do so with this modified Patrick chassis. Wild-looking design. The top of the cab sits down inside the top of the shock tower. Try to get that low CG handling just right on this machine. It's taken him a while to get this truck where he's wanted it, but it works very, very well for him now. Big hang time right there. Oh, that 2 Extreme Racing horsepower going to work. I have a feeling, though, after watching Kohler's run, Breeden is definitely going to line up to the backflip ramp. A slap wheelie right there. Stood it up very, very well. That's what he was going for in his best trick run. He just couldn't get it to materialize, but this is another one. He's not stopping and lining up each move. He's just going hit to hit. That controlled chaos, that's what the fans want to see in freestyle. This is a fan-judged event, so you want to give them everything that ticket promised them. Another slap wheelie out of Bounty Hunter. 2 consecutive into the outfield. A little bit dark down there, turns it around, and he'll head back down center track. Lining it up for the backflip ramp. What does Cretin have for the fans here in Evansville? Under-rotated and onto the cage. Didn't hit flat on the cage. It kind of rolled back on the shot towers. That was a wild run. That could take over the lead. We'll wait and see. Track crew checking on Cretin right now.
I need your help. Okay.
Jimmy is all right here. The indication from track announcer Chris Thornton letting the crowd here in Evansville know Jimmy is A-okay as we get a look at a highlight from that freestyle run. Look at him tag the brakes in the middle of a slap wheelie and actually slid on the rear tires with the front end up in the air, and then this awesome backflip. Pogo's off the front tires, Pogo's off the rear tires. Lands kind of hard on the back of the cage, but not flat down on the driver's compartment. And that is good news. Jimmy Cretin, though, will not take the Freestyle Championship. That victory goes to Jim Kohler, Mr. Excitement, taking the win in Avenger. So our congratulations to our best trick champion, Mike Potter Sr., our racing champion, Doug Nolke, and our freestyle champion, that man right there, Jim Kohler, Mr. Excitement in Avenger, closing things out on a high note. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next time from right here in Evansville, Indiana.